Hey everybody, this video is a little bit overdue, but I wanted to finally address the questions that you all asked directed at me in our first discussion board, the personal intros discussion board. And I'll move through them as quickly as I can so as not to make this video too long. And I'm just going to go through them as sort of as they came. So, what was your life like growing up in California? How's it different from the New York, New Jersey area? Um, my life was good growing up in California. I mean, I think people imagine, particularly people who are from California, they imagine California, maybe this is from the movies and from television, as this kind of paradise. And I don't know that it's that. It is a very nice place. It's a wonderful place to grow up. I grew up in Southern California, a town called Santa Barbara, which is a very nice town. Relatively small town, but maybe not as small as I don't know, mid-sized town would be fair. And so really enjoyed it. As far as it being different from the New York, New Jersey area, it's just, and this may seem obvious, it's more relaxed, right? We do have, I used to make a joke that when I would think about work in California or things that I had to do, I would say to myself, it'll get done. When I think about things I got to do in New York, living in Brooklyn, it's more like, how am I ever going to get this done? There's much more of a sense of urgency in New York, and there's something I like about that too. I kind of like the hustle and bustle, the busyness of the city. Though I do live in Brooklyn, so I'm kind of a little bit away from it. But at the same time, if I want to go dip my toes in the craziness, I can. What is your favorite moments of being a dad so far? So some of you know or should know that I'm a new father. I mean, it's a hard question to answer because, the one thing about, I heard a lot of people talk about how challenging it can be to have kids particularly during a pandemic, and that's true for sure. I mean, raising kids is not easy, but at the same time, it's absolutely life saving in the sense that he just brings joy and happiness, with his, and he drives us crazy too, my wife and I. So just those moments where he'll just run up and give you a hug. That's probably the best thing. That's pretty nice. What do you want? What did you want to be growing up? Um, you know, I think I went to the University of Southern California with the intention of majoring in film, though I didn't. I spent my first 2 years at USC undecided, in part because I was still applying to the film school. But by the time I started studying things, I actually had so many other interests that I didn't want to just focus on film. So I ended up focusing in on creative writing because I had always been kind of a writer, but just didn't really know it. And so that's kind of leads to me why what made you want to become a teacher, which is a question a couple of people had. And I started to realize that just as an artist and as a writer, those are things that I did, a visual artist and being a writer, that they really involved kind of the exploration of knowledge and ideas and but also with an audience, right? Thinking about that experience of an audience encountering a work. So I think that's really what drove me to be a teacher. I mean, a teacher, to my mind, it isn't about me, hopefully, and it isn't about, you know, only my ideas. It's about sort of, a classroom as a kind of laboratory where we all get to come together, all of us with different backgrounds, different ideas, and get to sort of share those ideas and explore them. So once I realized that teaching, and I did not like getting up and talking in front of crowds at that point, but once I realized that that was the kind of ethos, if you will, behind the kind of teaching situation, I wanted to be a teacher. What was the first text-based adventure game that you designed? Boy, I mean, I never like designed a game that like came out on the retail market or anything. But when I was younger, my friend and I used to play with MS-DOS or DOS, which I think just stands for Microsoft Disk Operating System. It was kind of like the original HTML, if you will. I'm not much of a coder. I don't really know much about computer languages nowadays. But back then, we would just use DOS, and it could just, it was kind of an if-then command system where it's like, we would write something like, you come to a divided path in the wood. Do you go left or you go right? And then you write the code. If somebody says left, then write a new description. If somebody says right, And at that point, all we could do, we didn't have any graphics. It was just text. And it was like, we could make the screen flash different colors. I mean, we were very amateur, but we were also very young. I mean, we're talking about 12 years old, 10 years old. Um, so that, I guess, would be the first text-based adventure game. What would be one of the most memorable moments you had while teaching? A really good question. And the thing that immediately jumped to my mind when I was teaching at San Francisco State University, I had students give a oral presentation. This is a creative writing class. They were supposed to give a class presentation in which you highlighted two emotions, right? So it could be fear, it could be joy, it could be anxiety, it could be whatever it might be. And so one of the students actually had his classmate, his friends, stage a mock robbery of our classroom. Um, and they didn't have real weapons or anything, but they came in with masks on and sort of asked us to put our wallets. Actually, they asked us to put our shoes in garbage bags. And so it was tense and scary. And then afterwards, they all came in again. All the robbers came in and gave us back all our shoes and gave us candy. And that was the represented joy and happiness. Anyways, this event attracted the campus police. And suddenly there were officers with guns drawn outside of our classroom, pounding on the door. And when I opened the door, I had guns pointed at me because they thought a real robbery was going on. So that was one of the more memorable moments in teaching one of my classes. How has it been teaching online? I mean, I think we all know it's good and it's bad. Um, I taught hybrid and online courses for many years before this, so it's not new to me. Um, but I really miss the in-person component of these classes. At the same time, as you've heard me say, I completely understand, that we're not yet comfortable because I don't think this virus is anything to mess around with. I think better safe than sorry, and being extra careful are smart things to do in this time. So I just feel like it's hard to fully immerse yourself and connect in an online space. So as far as with teaching online, it has its conveniences, right? You don't have to commute, or you can sort of fit class into your day a little easier. But I think the cons outweigh those pros, if you will. What is your biggest accomplishment? Ooh, geez. This is going to sound corny, but the thing that I'm most proud of is just the relationships I have in my life, whether it be with my wife, whether it be with my son, whether it be with my family, my extended family. I mean, my own parents, my sisters, my brothers, and whether the way my relationships with my friends. Those are the things I'm probably most proud of. And it's not like it's just me building those things, but obviously that kind of understanding and friendship and love takes effort and energy, and that's something that I think is the most important thing we can spend time doing. What is your favorite book? There was a book called by Gertrude Stein called Stanzas in Meditation. Very weird book. It's a long, what they call a serial poem that's completely nonsensical. And that book was really powerful to me when I read it when I was pretty young. I read it when I was about, I don't know, I would say 18, 17, probably around your guys' age. So that book was something that was really powerful. Most recently, I read Dune because Dune is coming out as a film, and I have a little bit of an interest in sci-fi stuff. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was great. I actually thought there were some really interesting things to be analyzed and discussed, and maybe I'll write something about it. Who knows? What pastime activity do you enjoy with your family? I mean, I don't know that there's a pastime activity. Sonny, my son, his name is Jasper, but his nickname is Sonny. Like we just, um, he really understands now. He's almost 3, but he understands now what things like holidays are. So, I mean, just spending time with the family. I think one of the things that the pastime, it's been weird, obviously, because we're in quarantine most of the time. And so one of the pastimes that we do is we all eat dinner together. I insisted, even though we live in a tiny Brooklyn apartment, that we buy a dinner table so we can sit at the dinner table instead of sitting at the coffee table and eating dinner. And I think that's probably one of the things that I love is sitting down. And I know As a kid, I hated it when my parents would always insist on me sitting at the dinner table with them. But that's something that I really love doing with my family. What is the song? What is one song that's really important to you? Again, um, I'm trying to think of what song immediately pops into my head. Um, I really like a lot of classic soul, and I think that's whether it's like Marvin Gaye or the Impressions or Curtis Mayfield or Billie Holiday or Fitzgerald, Aretha Franklin. I like a lot of classic soul, um, and I think it's just because it's got it feels good. So that's where my mind went. What is one thing that you look forward to at the start of each semester? Really, it's just kind of meeting everybody. I know, again, all this sounds kind of cheesy, but meeting everybody and hearing, all your different ideas and opinions. And so I really like that when I get to sort of, as your perspectives start to come forward and all your different ideas start to come forward. And that obviously happens more with the writing and stuff like that. But even in our conversations, that's what I love about teaching, sort of related to my response about why I'm interested in teaching. And finally, what is your favorite thing about writing? I think it's similar. It's that exploration of ideas. Writing is something that gets me to challenge myself. I don't think writing is something that ever gets easy. Writing is something that is always challenging because you're always dealing with and working with your thoughts and challenging yourself to articulate those thoughts. Um, and so, in that way, it can be very frustrating writing. But at the same time, I think that's my favorite thing about it is that it really pays off, right? I think it really gives me a lot of pleasure when I'm able to articulate something and put my thoughts down into an idea and have it be understood and have it be clear, but also it teaches me things about stuff, right? I learn things from myself when I start writing about them, right? So that's why I think like a lot of people like journaling or keeping a diary is because you sort of are teaching yourself about things in the world and yourself. And I think that's one of the most engaging things and important things about writing. All right, guys, that's it. Still, this is 16, 17 minutes. So thanks for sticking it out if you listened to all this. And thanks for all your questions. Again, looking forward to this semester and talk to you soon. Ciao.